The Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, has in the past had a little bit of a sequel problem. Iron Man was fantastic, and it launched the MCU into existence, but Iron Man 2 was a pretty big disappointment. I really enjoy Thor, but I think that Thor: The Dark World is the worst movie in the Marvel MCU. The Avengers is my favorite of all the Marvel movies, but I thought that Age of Ultron was pretty underwhelming. I think the only one to buck that trend was Captain America, the Winter Soldier. For me, that one is the best of the trilogy. So that brings us to Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite MCU movie right after the Avengers. I loved it. I thought it was really entertaining and fun and clever and just great across the board. So knowing the track record of second movies kind of fumbling a little bit, I was kind of worried about the sequel. However, I'm a really big fan of James Gunn. I think that his writing and directing are just excellent. And since I love the first one so much and I've seen all of Gunn's work, he's yet to let me down. And I'm happy to say that he's continuing that streak. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was very good. As you know from seeing the trailers, all the characters are back, which is always a plus. And one of the major things that I really liked about it was that they expanded on the characters and personalities of everybody in the movie, including the villains from the first movie. So while we did get more time with Star-Lord and Gamora and Drax, and they did a lot with Rocket, which made me very happy because Rocket is probably my favorite character, but they brought back Nebula and Yondu and gave them a lot more to do this time around. They felt much more fleshed out, and I liked that. The effects were really impressive. I thought that everything looked terrific. Granted, it was tons of CGI everywhere, but it was some very impressive CG to the point of where I wasn't entirely sure some of the things if they were CG or not. So that's always a good sign. We're slowly getting there. Although there was one not good CG thing, they took Kurt Russell and for a part of the movie, they digitally made him look younger and it looked like he was wearing a plastic face. It just didn't look right. They were showing him just enough so you could be like, oh, okay, that's who that is. And then covering him up and covering his face up with hair and stuff. So you weren't really getting a good look at how not good his face looked. My only other complaint about the movie was that I thought the ending, the big final fight, dragged on a little bit too long. And I know, this is coming from somebody who normally doesn't mind that sort of thing. It wasn't boring, but it got to a certain point where I was thinking, okay, how many times are they going to do this? How many times are they going to fail? For comparison, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the end of Armageddon, where the final sequence, oh, we're going to blow this up. Oh, that didn't work. We're going to do this. Oh, that didn't work. Kind of a similar thing here. We're going to do this and this doesn't work. And hey, how about here? And oh God, things are blowing up and everything's we're all doomed. Really though, it didn't impact my enjoyment of the film because while this was going on, there were some very funny one-liners and routines and bits that were going on that did help to keep it fresh. So it wasn't terrible. I thought it just could have been paced out a little bit better. That now brings me back to James Gunn's writing. Once again, very clever, very funny. I loved the quips. I loved the banter between everybody. I loved just the lighthearted nature and how sarcastic they were to each other. I always gravitate towards sarcasm. And with Rocket and Gamora and Quill, just them all going back and forth with some very funny sequences, it had me laughing a lot. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a very solid sequel to an excellent movie. While I don't think it's as good as the first one is very hard to top, but I think it is a very worthy sequel.